over the internet platform. Rogers spent 5 years and $500 million developing the technology, and now it's walking away from all of that and partnering with a company south of the border. Patrick O'Rourke is senior editor at Mobile Syrup. Patrick, let's keep things pretty broad here. What is IPTV, and why should any of us care about what's happened here?
So IPTV is television in the same way that you consume it now, but delivered over the internet. That's the concept of IPTV at its very lowest level. And I guess the reason why the average person should care about this is how we're going to be watching television in the future. Maybe not now, maybe not in the next year, but this is the new way of how television is going to be delivered.
And just to make the distinction, this is not the sort of show me crave. This is still, it plugs into a set-top box and into your computer. It just has an enormous amount of capacity and capability, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I guess one of the reasons why a variety of Canadian telecoms are starting to adopt IPTV rather than traditional digital cable is because of the bandwidth, which is exactly what you just mentioned. It allows for greater fidelity in signals, so 4K or UHD, which is the future of how we will eventually all be watching content. It's not quite there yet, but I guess they're looking into the future, and this is how things are headed in terms of quality and visual fidelity.
Okay, so now we can look at today's announcement in that context. Rogers has spent years and millions of dollars developing their own IPTV, and now they're walking away from it. What went wrong?
It's hard to tell. I mean, they've been teasing this for, up to 5 years. Bell has Fibe. That's their IPTV offering. Rogers is their main competitor. They're obviously going to be working on something very similar. They announced that it was going to launch before the end of 2016. We've seen 2 stories about that very recently, in fact. And then they totally ditched that project, it seems, taking a $525 million write-down, which is a massive number, especially for a project of this enormity. I can only assume that it was going so horribly that they decided to go with what Comcast is using, Xfinity. They're licensing that software. We're not sure what it's going to look like, but it's going to be very similar to what Comcast's offering is in the States, which is a platform where you can watch TV on your TV, your mobile phone, or a tablet, all through an app. It's sort of this universal, more modern way of watching television. And
I mean, so like as often happens in the tech world, rather than developing it in-house, they're just using somebody else's technology. Other than the enormous write-down, what's so wrong with that?
I mean, there's this sort of Canadian pride angle to it. It would have been nice for a giant Canadian telecom to come up with their own way of doing it rather than relying on a massive US company to do so. But it's not like they're the only Canadian telecom doing this either. Like Cogeco did the same thing. They've opted to use Xfinity. So has Shaw. Shaw's also using Xfinity. So it's not like they're alone in making this decision. And I guess in the long run, it may actually be better for consumers. I haven't personally tried this platform, but I've heard very good things about it. It's supposed to be very reliable, delivers the signal excellently, and it's available on a wide range of devices. Now, we don't know if that's what it's going to look like when Rogers launches its own, I imagine, branded version of this, but it's very possible that it could.
Where does this fit in the broader conversation about how we consume television in general? I mean, aren't we all just going to be watching Netflix and HBO Go in 5-6 years anyways?
That's the way that I watch TV. That's the way that I've always consumed television. I've never had a traditional cable subscription. But there's still people that are going to cling to that core idea of being able to flip through a channel guide, being able to watch live events. That's one of the sort of, I guess, holy grails of cord cutting, is the fact that live television is still hard to get through apps. I mean, there are sports applications for all the major sports leagues. That's sort of, I guess, that issue's been negated a little bit. But live television, and those people that still don't want to just switch between multiple apps, that's, I guess, kind of the crux of why all these telecoms are moving towards this IPTV format rather than just strictly working with apps.
And I guess, I mean, it's also a part of a conversation about a general problem with innovation on the incumbent side of this fight. That if you look at a set-top box and how you consume television, those of us that still do have, sort of traditional television, it hasn't innovated at nearly the pace of anything else, let alone, the speed at which we've innovated cell phones and that kind of technology.
Well, you do have Bell's Fibe, which is somewhat similar to my understanding to Xfinity. You can watch it on different platforms. There's an app that you use to watch on your phone, on your TV, or a tablet. So there's that side of things. So you do see some innovation, and there's also Crave TV, Bell's streaming platform. It's still around. Show Me, unfortunately, closed. So there are some interesting, cool things that Canadian telecoms are doing, but to a certain extent, I don't think it's anywhere near what we're seeing in the U.S. in terms of innovation.
Well, I have you. It's slightly off topic, but the BBC's teamed up with IPTV to launch this new subscription video on demand service starting in the United States that we're told it'll probably be coming to Canada. Within the context of IPTV and Netflix and standalone over-the-top services, how disruptive is a function like that coming into this market?
I mean, it speaks to how we watch television now. A lot of people don't just watch TV on a television. They want to watch it on whatever device they have available to them. So they're coming home from work, they want to watch a show on their phone, they want to watch something on a tablet. Maybe when they come home, they continue watching that particular program on their television. So I think it just speaks to the evolution in how we consume content. It's no longer just from one location. It's from multiple different sources and on multiple different devices.
No doubt. All right, Patrick, we've got to leave it there, but thanks for this.
No problem. Thank you.
Patrick O'Rourke, Senior Editor at Mobile Syrup.